The American Flat Track Championship is back to its roots, an old-school short track with the Harley-Davidson Atlanta Short Track, presented by Hellbender Harley-Davidson. Jared Mees, last year's series champ, won our opener in Daytona. They are all chasing him, and that includes Sammy Halbert, who almost chased him down at this race a year ago before they collided. Henry Wiles on the podium at our opener in Daytona, hoping to replicate that here. And in our singles division, the Rising Stars, a shakeup. Colby Carlisle, last year's champ, failed to make the main event. And Spain's Ferran Cardús showing great speed there. We'll see if he can replicate that today. Jason Wygant joined by Ralph Shaheen for the call. Heather DeBow will be patrolling the pits. Weather certainly a factor. It has been crazy all weekend here, but it certainly looked great last time out in Daytona. It's one of the great traditions of Daytona Bike Week. It's the Harley-Davidson Daytona TT. The season is underway. Last year's champ, Colby Carlisle, goes down hard. That is a big heartbreaker. Jake Lewis going to lead them down here into turn one, but he goes down. And here it is. Dan Bromley takes the win here at Daytona.
Baker on the 6, he gets knocked off.
And Mees takes advantage. Beach is right there, but he's going to run out of time. And Jared Mees wins Daytona for the second straight year. Phenomenal racing at that Daytona opener. Here are the results. Beach, the full-time road racer, really making waves in guest appearances in the series. But you never know, the TT results, it could change quite a bit here on a short track.
That's exactly right. You see guys like Henry Wiles, good at most places, but exceptional on the TTs. Guys like Kenny Coolbeth, not very good on the TT. Really anxious to get started here this weekend, back on his normal track. And then, of course, Jared Mees. Boy, he's just spectacular everywhere these days.
All right, so tell us about racing here at Dixie Speedway.
Well, you can see it's a D-shaped oval, and there's got a fair amount of banking in the corners, and it's Georgia red brick clay. Very hard surface. We've had a lot of rain here overnight, so this thing is going to be very technical, super slick, very tricky, hard to get good grip.
And chasing the weather means the riders will be chasing their bike setup. For more, let's send it to Heather.
Thanks, Jason. We're here at Dixie Speedway in Atlanta, getting ready for our first short track race of the season. And if it's anything like last year, we are sure in for some great racing action. As you remember, Jared Mees and Sammy Halbert went at it and raced for the lead until Sammy ended up on his back on the front stretch. And it was one of the best battles we saw all year. Now, Sammy is back this year, but this time he's on that new XG, and he's looking to be a front runner here again today. And of course, Jared Mees, he won in Daytona, and he won this race last year, and he's looking to keep up that momentum. But one dark horse that might get in his way is the number 95 of JD Beach. He's a professional road racer looking to get his first AFT Twins win. He got a podium in Daytona, so he definitely has momentum on his side and could possibly get it done today.
And we'll show you how these riders advance to the main event. It's a 3-2-1 format. You go through the heat race, top 11, then qualify for the semis, top 9. In each of those semis, then qualify for the main event. You got to run that gauntlet all night long to make it to the big show and score championship points. So what did it look like in these qualifying races? Well, we'll line you up for the first semi. Wiles showing, yes, he can get it done on a short track. A good qualifying run for him. Good run in his heat race. He has a good grid position here. Daytona had the lefts and rights. It had the jump. We're going to go back to what the roots of flat track are all about here on a circle track.
Traditional short track, flat track racing. Key to today is going to be getting a good start. Wiles on the bottom should have an advantage.
And he takes advantage of that, Ralph. Puts that number 17 out front. Look at the 5 of Jake Johnson. Now on a Yamaha, sweeping from outside to inside. Johnson making a run at it, but Wiles going to hold on for the lead.
You can see it's more banked on the back straightaway and through the turns than it is on the front stretch.
Coming together there, the field. So Johnson getting shuffled back a little bit after that run for the lead. Got the 98 of Kolkman trying to make moves as well. But right now, Wiles getting away.
Coming off of turn 2 and onto that back straightaway is where the bikes get compressed the most. And there you see the number 2. Dealing with it right there, Kenny Coolbeth on that Indian. Still coming to grips with trying to figure out the proper setup for that bike, having spent the last couple of years on the Harley.
Yeah, it was factory Harley rider last year, now on the private Indian machine, battling for third with Johnson on that number 5. You got Brandon Robinson on the 44. He's trying to go right through the middle. Love the multiple grooves we have and great passing. Kolkman down to the inside. The leader, Wiles, have been working the high line all the way around. We're on board with Jared Vanderkoy, another factory Harley-Davidson. He's got some work to do. just tried to get in a qualifying spot, started 16th, and now he's creeped up on that battle for the top 5.
You can see how they're dancing with that throttle on the entrance into the corner. Talking to a lot of the riders, they said getting into the turns here with the wet conditions from the weekend, just as tough as getting off.
Now the 2 of Coolbeth trying to sweep it and go from outside to inside under Kolkman. That is for second, and Wiles trying to get away while they battle each other. This is spectacular racing early on in Atlanta.
Kenny was telling me he's about 75 to 80% of where he needs to be in figuring out what the Indian likes. He said even one tooth difference on the gearing can make a massive difference in how that bike performs.
And they all had a big curveball thrown at them with the huge rain yesterday, so everything they learned from practice in the heat races, that's literally a wash, and they got to start from scratch on a different type of surface here. Here is your battle. Vanderkooi continues to make tracks toward the front. See if he can execute this pass for 4th, and he does.
Well, you can hear that thing fighting for good traction down the straightaways. With these flat trackers, well, you got to keep those wheels in a line to keep that bike digging and moving forward.
The 2 of Coolbeth trying to put some pressure on your leader. And then behind him, you got Kolkman under fire from those 2 factory Harley-Davidsons, Vanderkooi and Brandon Robinson. Time running out in this one. But I'll tell you what, Wiles is going to have to fight for it. Coolbeth wants to make the move. See if he can set something up here in turns 3 and 4. He's got to drive to the inside. Wiles working the high line for the majority of this race, making it work. 1 lap to go.
Couple of great veteran riders here, both with a lot of patience. Coolbeth has found some traction through there.
Let's see if he can use it to get off the corner on the inside. Into the last turn we go. 3 and now 4. Coolbeth has stolen the lead. Wiles going to try to come back. It's going to be a race to the line. Here we go. And Coolbeth makes the pass in the last lap to steal the victory. And that feels good. Any race win is big, but he struggled last year big time. And to get a win even in a semi has got to feel good. Take us through it, Ralph.
Well, here's where he really takes over the lead. He goes a little wide, but this was all set up by the exit off of turn 2. He got some good drive off of 2. That allowed him to catch him heading into 3.
And the veteran definitely knows his way around these short tracks, and he proves it. Vanderkooi, great run from 16th to 3rd. Kolkman pushed back to 4th ahead of Robinson. Let's send it down to Heather.
In exciting fashion, Kenny Coolbeth brings home the win in that semi. A lot of multiple lines there. You were running the bottom, Henry Wiles on the top, and then you got him. Walk us through that pass.
Yeah, I didn't want to be dirty, you know. I just was trying to wait for the moment, and, you know, it was a short race, so I had to get it going at that last lap, and made it stick. It was good, you know. The Team Nyla bike, Dave Atherton, the FTR Indian is just amazing, you know. It's, you know, Jared Mees cheated all year last year, so no, it's all good. He rode the thing, all props to him, but I'm stoked. I'm ready to go.
Well, that Indian has become a rejuvenation machine for Kenny Coolbeth. Jared Mees will be riding one in Semi 2 coming up next, and we'll check in with your singles class title contenders, Shayna Texter and Colby Carlisle, who both had races hit rather forget in Daytona. We'll talk to them when we return. American Flat Track on NBCSN is brought to you by Harley-Davidson, the official motorcycle of AFT Twins. And by American Flat Track, America's original extreme sport. And by Law Tigers, America's motorcycle lawyers. Well, racing always breeds rivalries, even in the off-season. Henry Wiles, Brad Baker, when American Flat Track posted a Throwback Thursday photo of them discussing things on the track a couple years ago. It then turned into an Instagram posto war between the two of them with some heated words. We had a chance to talk to them about that today.
When I seen that picture, I knew, I was like, okay, it's only a matter of time before somebody's going to say something and Henry's going to reply to it. And it's going to be something arrogant and out of place, and it's going to piss me off. And it did. I want to say it gets in my head. If anything, they fuel my fire. Thank you. You give me motivation to want to come out and beat you that much more.
Brad called me arrogant. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess if the shoe fits. If you look at the picture, he was the one that skated up in front of me and was yelling at me in the first place. So I just thought it was playful, but it sure did seem like I was in his head, didn't it?
Well, Wiles, if you remember, rode well, led most of the first semi. Here's Baker in action in semi number 2, and the number 6 certainly motivated here, fueled up, battling for the lead with Jared Mees.
Good action here, but you can see how slick that racetrack surface is. Just getting into the corners, let alone getting off.
And Johnny Lewis almost went for a ride there. Then Jeffrey Carver, the number 23, working the high line to try to get around Baker, while Mees goes on to take the victory.
And the fact that Mees got that big of a victory, that's going to make everybody a little nervous as we head towards the main event.
Yeah, absolutely. He was actually struggling in practice yesterday, but he has clearly fixed his machine. Carver, Baker, Lewis, Coase round out the top 5. So our singles class will be up next, and let's give you a primer on what these bikes are. They start primarily as 450 motocross bikes, about 20 miles an hour down on the absolute top speed of a twins machine, but a lot easier entry into the sport.
Well, and they're also down in price, and that's a big part of this. It's a great opportunity for people to come in, race on the same tracks as the full-blown factory twins, develop the skill set, and then if everything starts working your way, you find the sponsor dollars, the right team, you go twins racing.
And this guy got that from last year. Colby Carlisle running the number 1 plate, last year's champion. But here he is at the season opener in Daytona. Goes down right off the start in his semi. He was able to actually get back up, restart the race, and qualify for the main. But his shoulder pain was too much, and he did not line up for the main event. Here's an update with him and Heather.
Here now with the Flying Tomato, Colby Carlisle. Colby, we saw you go down hard in Daytona. First of all, are you feeling okay, and is your body all healed up?
Yeah, it was a long 3 weeks after Daytona, trying to heal up and do basically everything I could positive to try and be able to race today. And I'm here, and I'm not really feeling any pain, to be honest, so I'm glad to be here.
You spoke in Daytona to me about being more aggressive this season, taking more risks. You sure did that. Do you think it's paying off, or do you think you're going to kind of hold back a little bit?
Yeah, that was just a freak accident. It was so fast that I really didn't have time to react like I wanted to, but no, I'm going to keep charging and attacking, and I want to win some races.
Now we're here on an oval track, back to what flat track is all about. So how are you feeling going into today? And now you're going to be able to kind of see where you really stack up against the competition.
Yeah, you know, this kind of levels everything a little bit. There's some guys that don't do good on TTs that do good on ovals, but I'm hoping to do good today. Here I qualified 10th. We've been kind of chasing bike setup a little bit, but I think these Yamahas are ready to go battle now.
Well, thank you so much for spending time with us today, Colby. Best of luck to you today. Glad to see you're feeling better. Keep your eye on the Flying Tomato later today.
Well, thanks, Heather. Let's show you some of the storylines throughout qualifying in the singles division. Watch Jake Lewis. We'll show it to you again. He should have crashed here.
How he doesn't high side off in the 185 at this point, I have no idea.
Unbelievable. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Meanwhile, Brandon Price, second in the championship a year ago, rolling here in Atlanta, wins the semi going away. So he's reestablished himself. Now here's what happens when you don't save it. Huge crash in semi 2, started by Ryan Wells, and a ton of riders down.
One of the nastiest wrecks I've seen in a while. Everywhere you look is just chaos. And then watch Bo Thompson on the 93 just grinding the face shield right along the wall.
Unbelievable. We'll show it to you one more time. Wells goes down, and this is just full domino theory or bowling pins. Everybody goes down. Luckily, not a lot of extreme injuries from this one. Cameron Smith, though, walked off but was unable to rejoin the race for the restart. But believe it or not, Wells, who you see here sitting on the hay bale, who started the crash, was able to get back up, join the race for the restart, and qualify for the main. Stallings would take the victory. He was a contender last year and strong again in 2018. So here are those semi-1 results. Price, you saw, takes the win. Last year's champ Carlisle does make the main by finishing 5th. So a lot better result this time than Daytona. Semi number 2, you see Stallings taking the win over the Daytona main event winner Bromley. And Shayna Texter will make her first main event of the year by finishing up in 5th, right behind Wells, who recovered from that crash to make the main as well. Here's Shayna with Heather.
Here now is Shayna Texter. Shayna, you've had a little bit of an interesting trip to Atlanta. Can you tell us what happened to your team on their way here?
It was a little bit of a victory getting to Atlanta, that's for sure. My hauler took off from Pennsylvania, and at 1:30 in the morning, I got the call that it broke down in Harrisburg. So Briar and I made the difficult decision to get out of bed, skip our flight, and drive his van and trailer and go pick up my bikes and everything and get down here to Atlanta to make sure we could race.
Well, I'm glad you made it, but you're here. You're supported this year by Factory Husqvarna. We talked in Daytona how that deal kind of came together late. So have you had more time on the bike since Daytona?
Yeah, going into Daytona, I had about an hour and a half on the bike total, and coming in here to Atlanta, I had a little bit more seat time last week, and the bike's great. I'm enjoying it. It's been a fun motorcycle to ride, and I can't wait to keep going. I think every weekend we're going to get better and better, and we were 5th through 7th in qualifying, so for me, I'm satisfied for that. That gives me a little bit more extra momentum, and I'm hungry. I'm ready to go out there and win.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Best of luck to you. That's Shayna Texter looking to put some seat time to good use today.
Well, that singles main event is going to be great, and last year's twins main event was unbelievable. Jared Mees and Sammy Halbert battled until Halbert went down. We'll catch up with Slam and Sammy to ask about that, and then our singles main event will kick off. Dan Bromley looking for 2 in a row. Time for the stars of American Flat Track to go racing in their main events here at Dixie Speedway. But it takes a serious effort just to get to these races, and no one wins by themselves. Let's send it to Heather DeVoe.
Well, Jason, the flat track community is one big racing family, and there are a lot of people in this paddock that have some very interesting backgrounds and stories. This season, we're going to get you behind the scenes and show you some of those hidden heroes that you may or may not know.
I'm Michelle DeSalvo. I work for Zanatti Racing for Briar Bauman, number 14 on the Kawasaki. I'm originally from Salinas, California, ironically the same place that Briar's from. I started racing when I was 11, flat track. My dad raced flat track in the 60s, so naturally that was what I went into when I wanted to race. I built everything I've ever rode, and so I have a pretty good background. I just kind of go to where things pull me, and I love flat track, and I had the opportunity to come on board, and I've been here since 2013. I do a lot of different things, from motors to tire changing to cleaning. My favorite thing to work on is probably getting inside the motors, because there's so many things that we can accomplish as far as the racetracks and the different setups, and I really enjoy that. I've done that my whole life, and I really enjoy doing that. We put in what it takes. We're done when the bikes are done. That could mean a 16-hour day, that could mean a 4-hour day. Bill Werner helps out a lot with tips and how to get things going, and so he's such a huge asset to what we're doing. Getting the chance for me personally to work with him was huge. I mean, I'm honored to even be able to learn from him.
Briar Bauman of the Kawasaki wins here in Lima, Ohio, taking his first win ever on a twin.
It's the first time I've been involved on a win on a twin. That was just a magical night. Everything went our way. I cry when I think about it. It was such a great night. I love to see Briar out there succeeding. The bikes go out. As soon as they hit the track, I feel like I'm satisfied. I did everything I could. It's in his hands now to see something that I worked on to get on the racetrack and go out and run out front consistently. I mean, that does it for me. That's a better feeling than racing.
And Briar Bauman dating Shayna Texter as we transition back to our singles division. So there it is, Texter and Carlisle trying to rebuild their championship efforts after a rough Daytona. They battled for the championship a year ago. And the Englishman, Oliver Brindley, will start third. He was also very fast at our opener. Brandon Price won his semi. He's definitely going to be a contender. Last year, he proved tough on any surface. So we're ready to go racing here. The rising stars of the singles division on a track they're probably a little more comfortable with. Daytona TT is an outlier.
Yeah, Oliver Brindley's got his mom and dad, or mum and dad, over from England to watch him battle it out here today. And Shayna Texter getting used to that Husqvarna, still basically a stock motorcycle. And boy, she's had some real issues just getting to the races to the 2 openers this season. Been a tough year for her already.
They bring the revs up, and we're underway. Our main event here in the AFT singles division in Atlanta. And we're off and rolling into the first turn. We love the multiple grooves. We saw it in the semi. Things are going to get intense right here. But right now it's the Yamaha. Is that Brindley getting out front? Yes, it is, 24.
Look at them, 4 wide through 3 and 4. A lot of good lanes to utilize here. The grip, not good really anywhere across the racetrack. So you're going to have to make the most of it. They were able to seal it off knowing all the rain was coming, and they've actually had to go back and put a little water on the racetrack today. Great job prepping it.
Absolutely. Multiple lines after rough weather. You don't see that a lot. Morgan Mishler was the one that made that aggressive move for the lead. So he's out front now on the 69. Price has climbed up to second. Stallings, who won the other semi, is third. So now that we brought the full field together in the main event, it is on. Four-rider battle for the lead.
You can see all the way down to the bottom, then letting that bike just drift up to the top. A little bit more banking on the front straightaway at the top portion than down at the bottom.
Mishler still holding on, but for how long? Brandon Price looking to make a move, and he makes it happen out of turn 2.
Great drive off of turn number 2, just like we saw earlier in one of the Twins races. Kenny Coolbeth used it to get to the lead. Same thing here.
Mishler not done, trying to come right back after Price. Then Brindley trying to take third place back away from Stallings. A good battle there. And our Daytona winner, Dan Brownlee, is 5th and starting to close.
Boy, you have to be easy on that throttle, don't you? You can see the bike's just really twitchy off the backside as they come off the corners.
Yeah, especially because the leader, Price, keeps going high, and Mishler looking for running room down low, but it is so hard to get traction down here. You'll see what happens, turns 3 and 4. Another low line from the second place rider. Not able to make it happen. Meanwhile, Texter, a bad start. She is 10th, started 10th, now close to 6th, and right in front of her is Bromley, last week's winner. So she's hitched a ride with him, and they're headed toward the front.
The only thing on Shayna's bike that is not stock is the exhaust pipe. Everything else, basically the way you'd find it off the showroom floor.
Yeah, and she's mentioned it rides so much differently than the bike she was on last year. Don't want to throw too many changes at it while she gets used to it. Wait a minute. Wheeling caution lights are out now. This race has been red flagged, so we've had a crash, and everybody's going to have to shut it down and restart. I think the crash was right up here.
Oh, man.
Cole Zabala down in turn 3. Hope he's okay.
Yeah, all the way up to the air fence, and it looks like he's got his leg trapped there. They're going to have to get over there and help him get out from underneath that bike.
So now we regrid it. You see Mishler, who is second, will restart in second with Price on the 92, the one they're going to try to catch. And back there is Colby Carlisle on that number 1. Estenson Yamaha, he took advantage, a good spot on the inside, making a couple quick passes. But Price actually pulling away after the good restart, and Dan Bromley up to second. Bromley made some great moves on the restart, so from 5th to 2nd, could Bromley go 2 for 2 to start the season?
Bromley with a really good start, and that's a huge key here today. We talk about the starts every race, Jason, but on a slick surface like this, when the red flag comes out, it gives you a second opportunity, and some guys can make great moves with it. Others are going to lose a lot of ground.
Well, Bromley's going to lose a little ground back as you got Kevin Stallings trying to work it on the inside. Out of turn 2, Bromley's going to edge back away for second. But as they're battling each other, this could be the chance that Brandon Price needs to start pulling away. This is a torrid battle. Mishler, Brindley, Stallings, Bromley all want a piece of second place. Stallings trying the inside on Bromley again. High line for the 24, Brindley, the Englishman. Oh, and he's going to get squeezed off by Stallings.
Well, they are taking it all the way up to the wall coming off at turn number 2. You can see that blue groove is big and wide here with less than half a dozen laps to go.
Laying down rubber as track is changing lap after lap. Brindley going to try the outside again, then squares back underneath on the exit. Still can't get Stallings for 3rd. Way down to the inside, you see another battle. That's Texter and Carlisle, last year's championship contenders. We told you their story. They both did not make the main event at the opener. They're trying to salvage points tonight in a battle right now for 8th place.
Well, what's going to be interesting to watch is Colby Carlisle with that number 1 plate, the reigning champ. He has been saying all year he's going to be more aggressive. Looking to the high side here. He's got to back out of it. Now what will he do?
Will he have Texter covered on the entrance turn 1? He does. Shayna comes back down the inside.
And you can see the sun peeking through the clouds as he squares her back up. That keeps changing those track conditions.
Look at this back and forth. It's what flat track racing is all about, especially on the short tracks. Tons of passing. They've gone, what, 4 or 5 times around each other in a lap and a half. Texter way down to the inside. Let's see if she can seal him off, and she does.
Boy, she came right across that front wheel. Very aggressive move, and Colby's hanging right with her as the white comes out.
So Price has checked out. Bromley second. Look at this battle for fourth. Two Yamahas, Mishler and Brindley, trying to set each other up and maybe get a piece of the third place rider, Stallings. They would love to be on the podium tonight. Time running out. Way down to the inside is Mishler. Here's the checkers, and the win goes to Price, just over Bromley. And a good battle right down to the wire. Looks like Stallings will hold on for third, and the Texter and Carlisle battle. I believe Carlisle's gonna get it. No, Texter does hold him off for seventh. So Price, who is so strong throughout the day, follows it up in the main.
Yeah, he had a dominant win in his semi and a huge victory here. He's gonna be looking forward to coming back to Atlanta.
Absolutely. All right, let's send it down to Heather with our winner.
Brandon Price, your winner here in the singles class, first win of the season. You didn't get that great of a start, and then you were able to get a restart. How good does it feel to get a win? And also, were you relieved that that restart came, considering that you weren't able to get off the line that well on the first jump?
Well, I mean, the first time I didn't really get a good start, but by the end I was already in first. I mean, it passed like 3 people, but you know, the Parkson Brothers bikes, they were working amazing, so I was fine with the first start. I was kind of disappointed that we had to go to a restart. I mean, it lines us all back up, so we had to do it all over again, but I wanted to wish my mom a happy birthday. This one's for her.
Should probably be happy that he's climbed up to second in the standings. By the way, 13th and 14th now, Texter and Carlisle after salvaging something today, but they're all chasing the KTM man, Dan Bromley, a second and a first this year.
Second place goes to Dan Bromley today. Dan, this is your second podium of the season. You're starting off on the right foot. What's clicking for you this year to have this momentum this early on?
I don't know. Just we came to the series just to have fun, and I think that's showing. Just going out there, just trying to do the best I can with no pressure. I can't thank my parents enough for everything they do for me, my brother, my Uncle Steve, Nick Henderson for traveling with me and working on the bikes, getting them working good, my girlfriend Connor, and my buddy back home, Hank the Hurricane, for training with me and making it awesome.
So Dan Bromley and this man, Brandon Price, are your two early season winners in the singles division. Who will win the twins tonight? Could it be Brad Baker? We'll check in with him when we return. American Flat Track on NBCSN is brought to you by Indian Motorcycle. Be legendary. By E3 Spark Plugs, the official spark plug of AFT. And by American Flat Tracker Clothing Company. Find your groove at AmericanFlatTracker.com. Last year, Brad Baker crashed out of the season opener at Daytona, put him in a big points hole. This year, starting the season consistently, he's looking for more tonight in Atlanta.
Baker on the 6 is looking to make up for last year.
This off-season, I tried to prepare myself the best I could, put a lot of work in, physically, mentally. Going into Daytona, I was really confident. It's always nice to be able to come into a season feeling that way because you've been able to have the time to be on the motorcycle. I was having a little bit of issues entering the corner.
Little mistake from Baker off the corner. Mees is going to charge into the jump. Oh, Baker goes off the track to protect.
He gets knocked off there by his teammate.
A second time that happened. This time, Mees takes advantage.
Every time I go up the jump, the front end would completely compress, bottom out. I would go over the jump really out of shape, and then that'd mess up all my momentum down to the right-hander chicane. Wasn't able to attack the racetrack as hard. I don't want to say get in my head. I mean, I don't really let anybody get in my head too much. I got to run my race no matter what. It wasn't like I had any slouches beat me. I mean, it was 4 of the best TT riders that we have on the circuit. Thought I had the chance of winning it, and we didn't. So can't be too hard on yourself. I want to make that the worst finish is a top 5.
Baker looking for the runner-up ride.
Last year was really good being able to come here and get second. I didn't have barely any seat time on an FTR 750 Scout. It was a big learning curve for myself and everybody on the team. Since then, I mean, I've just learned so much about this bike. I feel great with the team, with the bike, my fitness, everything is really probably the best it's been in my career. Really looking at this season, I have a great feeling about it. I mean, I feel like I've matured and learned more as a rider. It's going to be a tough year, but I feel like we're going to be on top of it.
Well, Brad Baker's certainly fast, no doubt about it. but you see that last block there, that's really key for him.
Well, that's the biggest thing for this former champion to get another title. He's got to defeat that injury bug. Missed 3 events last year and all those points, still finished 3rd in the standings.
Another thing to figure out tonight is the tire combination. Here is your Dunlop Tire Tech tip.
Down here in this, these areas, the clay is red, so it's got a lot of traction, real grippy.
The red clay tracks, this takes a lot of rubber. This track's getting harder and harder, but it's also getting slicker and slicker as well.
Since you can run 2 different tire compounds here, depending on your setup in your motorcycle, some guys aim for the black with a softer compound, but you have the risk of getting the tire overheated. You might see people chasing the red dirt more and going with a harder tire just to keep the heat down and not overboil the tire and get it greasy, and you lose traction at that point.
You have to make sure that you pick the compound that's going to work best throughout the race, or decide if you want to go hard in the beginning or be there in the last 5.
Fans here in Atlanta won't soon forget last year's incredible battle here. We'll catch up with Slammin' Sammy Halbert to ask about that fight between he and Jared Mees. And they'll have a rematch because our AFT Twins main event from Atlanta is coming up on NBCSN. Time for the main event here at the Atlanta Short Track. Should be a good one. It certainly was last year, and one of the stars of that battle was Sammy Halbert. Fought for the win with Jared Mees. Here's Heather talking to Sammy.
Here with rider of the number 69 bike, Sammy Halbert. Sammy, last year in Atlanta, you had an excellent run. You were running up front. We saw a great battle between you and Jared, probably one of the most exciting of the year. How exciting was it for you from the rider's seat?
Yeah, it was for sure a great race. It was good to get the lead and lead some laps. And then, once we started mixing it up, really, it was just another race with Jared. We've gone at it over the years so many times, so it was just second nature just to ride like that with him. Unfortunately, ended up on my face or on my backside or whatever, but that sucked, to not be able to bring it to the finish like that. But still, luckily, was able to remount and get a result out of it.
You and Jared race like that all the time. So if the situation's reversed and today we're going at it again, you and him, is there going to be any payback there, or are you going to ride him clean?
Yeah, no, I always try and ride clean anytime I go over 100% and put some emotion into it. It's not, probably not good. So 100% always, no extra.
Awesome. Now you're with the Harley team this year, Factory Harley supporting you. You like riding these Harleys. We're in Atlanta. This track is an oval, so instead of a TT, we're down to what flat track really is about. Do you think this might be a good chance for you to really get to know this bike better?
Yeah, for sure. Learning stuff already. Definitely got my work cut out for me. But I like these banked red clay half miles. I've got some wins on them. I do well on them usually. So be looking to get it done tonight.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you. That's Sammy Halbert looking to get the win here in Atlanta.
And so are his teammates in the Factory Harley-Davidson machines, including Brandon Robinson. Did a great job in his semi, making some passes, coming through traffic. But, of course, they are all chasing Jared Mees, last year's series champ and the winner of our season opener at Daytona. Watch out for old Kenny Coolbeth, man. He was good in his semi.
Yeah, and as we said at the beginning of the show, he's not a TT specialist, so he just wanted to get through Daytona, was looking to get good points here. But don't forget, last year, Mees won Daytona and Atlanta on the way to the championship. Focus on that bottom portion of the start here. It's easier to get better traction on the bottom than the higher portion of the banking.
We're underway here at the Atlanta Short Track, and what a jump for Jared Mees.
And where was he? He was right down on the bottom of that start, and that's the big key here. And talking to the riders, they said being down there allows you to get those tires firmly planted on the racetrack surface.
All right, good call on that, Ralph. It's Henry Wiles in the 17. His first race on a store-bought Indian and making it look good in second. And right behind them, you've got Jared Vanderkoy in the Factory Harley in third. They've shuffled that number 2 of Coolbeth back to fourth. He was second on the grid.
Now what Mees wants to do is find his rhythm and really start putting those laps down and let the guys behind him struggle to try to find the traction to hang with him.
Vanderkoy running a wide line and getting right up behind Wiles. This is a great battle right now. 2 Indian machines out front, a factory machine and a private machine. And then Vanderkoy right there. Let's go to Heather.
A very strong race here for the number 20 of Jared Vanderkoy in the start of this main event. After having electrical issues in his heat, he has been fast the rest of the day. I talked to him before the main and he told me that the bike felt really good. He also said that there's multiple lines at this track. He says they're all pretty quick, but you just need to find the right line that fits you as a rider. They call him Captain Chaos, and he sure has been aggressive from the start.
Yeah, you're not kidding. He has made the move on Wiles for second, and I don't think he's done. He wants to run down Mies.
And this is what everybody's been looking forward to, right? Factory Indian versus factory Harley-Davidson. Here we go. Indian leaning the Harley right now. The scary part for the Harley guys, the Indian's opening up a gap.
Let's show you the start again. You mentioned the inside was good. Here's the inverse of that on the outside.
Yeah, Brad Baker all the way to the outside in the 6th position, up on that banking. Really struggled, you can hear it, to get his Indian to launch. Mies was on an Indian, but down on the bottom, and he went to the front. Baker deep into the field. Now he's got to go to the high side, stay up here and try to make up some of that ground.
Battle continues. It's still Vanderkoy in second. Wiles under pressure in third from the number 2 of Kenny Coolbeth. And now Jeffrey Carver starting to get into the fight on the number 23. All fighting for podium real estate here in Atlanta.
One of the things we're starting to see developing here too, and that's Carver, who's way up into the brown, the cushion portion of the racetrack through 1 and 2. We've got this big, wide blue groove, if you will, where they blew off all the loose dirt. Some of the guys now starting to search for some of the brown surface, see if they can get traction there. Really interesting surface here this weekend.
That Replay XD onboard was with Brian Smith. That's a 2016 Series champ. A bit of a slow start to his season, along with his teammate Baker, you see on the number 6. Those are the other 2 factory Indian machines. They're just trying to get into the top 5. Their teammate Jared Mies is out front. So Mies wants to start the season with 2 wins in 2 races. It could be up to Jared Vanderkoy on the factory Harley to track him down. Battle is on here at the Atlanta short track. Jared Mies leading Jared Vanderkoy. Jeffrey Carver has carved his way up to third. Let's check back in with Heather.
We've talked about it a lot today. Multiple lines on this racetrack, and riders are using the whole surface. One of those riders is the number 17 of Henry Wiles. In that semi, we saw him riding all the way up against the wall. When I spoke to him on whether or not he was going to keep that line for the main event, he told me he might have to switch things up, considering that Kenny Coolbeth ended up beating him in the semi. As you can see, he's running a little bit low over line. Not sure if that's working out for him or not, but he said he had to maybe try something different.
Well, yeah, he is running that low line, but so is Coolbeth. They're in a battle again, and they're trying to get back around Carver. This is all for third.
You know, Jason, in some racetracks we'll go to, we'll see that blue groove maybe just a foot wide. Here it's 3/4 the width of the racetrack. It is a very slick racing surface here today. You basically have a dirt track that has taken all this rubber down, which is giving it that appearance of being black, or blue groove as we call it. So what that means for the riders is this racetrack is very technical, which means it's going to be very mentally taxing today.
And the guy who seems to be rolling right now is the 2, the veteran of Kenny Coolbeth. He's taken third from Carver. He's starting to close on the 2nd place rider, Vanderkoy, and nobody is closing on Jared Mies. Could be a TT at Daytona or a short track here in Georgia. Doesn't matter, this guy is on rail.
Nobody has read the racing surface better today than Jared Mies and his mechanic, Kenny Tolbert. They have figured out how to dial in their Indian for this surface better than anybody. And you got a great rider on top of it who's just making it all work.
And what's interesting is he struggled a bit in practice yesterday, and he said they had to throw everything at that motorcycle. They made a ton of changes, and the fact that they've changed so many things and hit on the right combination shows just how good Mies' crew is. Vanderkoy, pressure beginning to build. Coolbeth and Carver are closing in, Ralph.
With a handful of laps to go, one thing to keep an eye on is tire choice. Vanderkoy on the 20 took the softer compound. Everybody else at the front chose the harder Dunlop compound. That's going to give them more grip late in the race, and it's starting to bite Vanderkoy. He is slipping back into the clutches of Carver on the 23 and Coolbeth on the 2.
Onboard replay XD camera with Brad Baker fighting with his teammate, the number 4 of Brian Smith. Now, Smith was on the podium in the first 2 races of the year. Last year, it has been a struggle starting this 2018 campaign. So those factory Indian riders trying to get to the front, trying to catch that battle. You saw it, Vanderkoy, Coolbeth, and Carver. A little bit further back at the 44 of Brandon Robinson. One of the other factory Harley machines, they're just fighting to be inside the top 10 tonight. Vanderkoy, how long with that tire can he hold on? Oh, Coolbeth looking for running room. Can he get the drive off the inside? And Carver's right there also. 3-way battle for second.
It's already an incredibly slick racetrack, and then he's got the tire going away. Vanderkoy doing everything he can just to stay on the podium.
Oh, you can see how far he had that bike slung sideways coming into turn 1, and finally the door is open. And taking advantage is Coolbeth. Vanderkoy gonna try to get him back. Not gonna happen. Let's see if Vanderkoy can run this low line, even with that soft compound tire that's starting to go away. He can't, and now Carver looking to take advantage.
This is the kind of performance that's going to give Kenny Coolbeth great confidence that he's starting to figure out this Indian.
And he has announced that this will be his final season of racing, and what a way to get it going with a podium early in the year. Who will join him? Will it be Vanderkoy? Will it be Carver? They're side by side, and Carver is able to make the pass. Clutch move by the 23. Checkered flag is out, and another win for Jared Mees on the Indian. And right behind him, they closed up big time as they fought each other for those podium spots. It's going to be Coolbeth and Carver.
That's just a tough break for Vanderkoy. They just made the wrong tire choice. He rode a great race. But Jared Mees, Kenny Tolbert, they showed their veteran skills and knowledge, and it all paid off here this weekend. They dialed that bike in, had the right rider on the top of it, right to the top step of the podium 2 races in a row.
Good job by Wiles, the TT specialist, though. He was on an Indian, and he finished up in the top 5. So a great run by him, holding off Baker and Smith. There's your entire 18-rider field. So Jared Mees, doesn't matter if we've got a TT or a short track, right now, he and this team have got the bike dialed in for everything. We'll talk to him next. American Flat Track on NBCSN is brought to you by Harley-Davidson, the official motorcycle of AFT Twins. By Replay XD, the official action camera of American Flat Track. And by Vance & Hines, the presenting sponsor of AFT Twins. Jared Mees logging a lot of miles as victory laps as far as racing miles tabulated. He, Coolbeth, and Wiles tied at the top of the Sunoco standings. The tiebreaker goes to Mees because he's had the best result, which is a win. Let's go to Heather.
2 for 2 for Jared Mees this season, getting another win, already kicking it off just like he did last year. Deja vu almost, but I think what I just saw there, one of my favorite things, and you've mentioned your team works really hard, the smile on Kenny Tolbert's face on that victory lap. What does it mean to you to see your team be so happy knowing they worked so hard for you?
You know, I've said it time and time again, my team's my rock, my team's, they're there, they're so great for me. That win came from the team more than me. I mean, my feedback to them and the way we communicated was so good. And for some reason, this one just feels like, man, we pushed up a semi up a cliff or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, we felt like I was that far down, but we battled back. We did what we had to do and got it done.
Motul move of the race. This was clutch by Kenny Coolbeth.
Well, it was all about tire choice. Coolbeth just had more traction. He was able to get to the bottom and then get the drive off the corner, and Vanderkoy had no answer for him or Carver late in the race.
Gets pushed off of the podium back to 4th. Coolbeth going into his final season of racing, a solid run in 2nd, and he's on the podium with Heather.
2nd place for the number 2 of Kenny Coolbeth. Kenny, great run out there, podiumed. We haven't seen you here in a while. It must feel pretty good, but walk us through your race, and if you thought you had more in that new Indian that you're on.
Well, it took me a while to get going. You know, Henry Wiles was ahead of me, and I was just kind of following him. I wasn't like racing. So once I got around him, and then Jeffrey started coming, and he passed us, and I'm like, man, I got to regroup and get my stuff together here. And I felt really good at the end of the main event. I wish I was that fast in the beginning to give that number 1 a little hiccup in his win. I want to beat him. I'm going to. You know, it's just a matter of time, and you know, we have all the tools, and I feel good. My body's good, and I might be old, but I'm ready to go racing.
Could be ready to fight for this title. He's up to second in the points. Factory Harley machines Halbert and Robinson out of the top 10. You see them there. They really revamped that bike this year, and the Vanderkoy showing there is some potential. Baker and Smith, your other factory Indian riders, 4th and 8th. I got to be disappointed. Let's check in with Carver, tonight's 3rd place finisher.
Bringing it home third today is the Wizard, Jeffrey Carver. Jeffrey, we saw you swapping position with a few other riders. You're pretty aggressive, running multiple lines. How crazy was it for you as a rider as it was for us to watch?
It was super crazy. You know, the race got started and I found myself in like 6th or 7th, and I'm like, man, you got to start moving around, and you got to stay smart on these type of racetracks and move around and try and really find the proper line. And when it gets grooved up like that, you just got to find what works for you. A lot better than our finish last weekend, so ready to move on to the next one.
And the next one will be the Texas Half Mile. That's going to be a fun one just outside of Dallas.
Yeah, and another opportunity for the Harley guys to catch up a little ground. I think they got to be feeling pretty good after the performance Vanderkoy had here today. If he just had chosen the right tire, they might have been on the podium.
So a real sign of life for them. Meanwhile, the singles division racing was close, almost too close at times. And after a chaotic night, some title contenders get back on the board, including your winner, Brandon Price. Great battles in the twins division, but ultimately they're all chasing Jared Mees. For Ralph Shaheen and Heather DeBoe, I'm Jason Wygant. See you next week in Texas.